Hello, welcome to another English Sparkling with Tweedy video. Apologies for my very unkempt appearance, jacketless. My shirt sleeves are rolled up and everything. It's another oppressively hot day, 32 degrees C, something like that. Definitely more the sort of weather for chilled English Sparkling rather than Burgundy over on the other channel. I was in St James's yesterday, so I popped into Berry Brothers and Rudd and picked up this, which I've probably done a review of before, haven't I? I think Langham's Blanc de Blanc, Blanc de Blanc, if you want to try and do it the French way. Not really bothered. From Dorset, a producer I really like. This isn't maybe my favourite wine from them. I prefer the ones that have a bit more Pinot in. But anyway, this is what they had in BBR. They had the rosé, I think, as well, but I wasn't in the mood for a rosé. Being a Blanc de Blanc, it is 100% Chardonnay. This is mostly the 2020 vintage. It says on the back there that it's 90% from 2020 and 10% reserve wine. If I have featured this wine before, it was quite possibly a different vintage or vintage blend, I should probably. So it's technically a multi-vintage, isn't it, rather than a vintage wine, but it's, for all intents and purposes, mostly 2020. There's some more technical information on the back if you're interested. Disgorged 2024, so this would have had, if it was bottled July 2021 as well, so this would have had 3 and a bit years on the lees, 3 1/4, something like that. Quite a long time on the lees actually there. And it does say that the dosage was a mere 1 gram a litre, very, very low dosage. So that's, don't think that quite counts for Brut Nature, does it, in the Champagne inherited classification system for the different dosage levels, the different additions of sugar. I read now they say extra brut on the back, so very low dosage. I'm going to open it the fun way with the sword. Somebody said they found that cringe the other day. Well, soz. Don't care. I enjoy it. Find it a good stress relief. I had a slightly annoying day dealing with comments on one of the other channels earlier in the day. And so this is always a fun way to let off a bit of steam, I find. Was a very successful operation there. It was a bit difficult finding the seam actually, but I couldn't really feel it near the neck, but I could feel it down towards the base, so I just sort of followed it up from there. Anyway, that's the cringe over with. I enjoy it. There's no other real motivation for these absurd videos than my personal enjoyment. So, sorry, probably rocking the table with putting that on there. So that's a slightly more yellowy gold than I would perhaps have expected, a slightly deeper gold than I would have perhaps expected for a pure Blanc de Blanc. That could just be, for once, I'm sitting in a brightly lit setting rather than in the shade of the woods. First nose there. Slightly almost candied version of apple, not quite toffee apple, but it's appley, but in quite a sweet way, a sweet sort of apple aroma. Really surprising considering this is 0 dosage. I was expecting this to be bone dry. We'll get to that on the palate, of course, but at least the sense of it from the nose. Surprisingly a bit sweet, and there is some nice rich, buttery, probably autolytic character there as well. So as you might hope for that long lees aging 3 and a bit years. It's a decent stint, I think. Maybe some lemon there again with a sort of slightly sweet, slightly rich sort of edge to it. Lemon curd, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's all quite rich, slightly sweet, fruit-wise. would be surprised if we go beyond apples and lemons here, considering it's 100% Chardonnay. I think it's that sort of territory. Let's see if that develops with a bit of swirling. Slightly fresher, greener, brighter. I would say before the apples were veering slightly towards yellow apples, golden delicious or something, which I've never really been a fan of. But now I'm getting a bit of green apple. And a bit more lemon, possibly lemon rind. Yeah, nice and fresh and bright there. I'm appreciating that. It's a little bit surprising before that it was so rich and sweet rather than fresh and bright. Nice sort of tingle to that aroma as well somehow. There's a nice sort of surprising tingling sensation in my nose. I don't know if perhaps just the bubbles are going up my nostrils there. Okay, interesting. I get the sense there's going to be a little bit of something botanical there from that nose, so it's all sounding quite interesting thus far. What an interesting combination. Really zingy, quite bold. I like that. Quite mineral, but also it's maintaining that sort of richness. And I think that's autolytic complexity, at least a bit. I don't know if possibly this Chardonnay had a little bit of, I didn't read the blurb and perhaps it wasn't stated there, but could it possibly have had a little bit of wood contact earlier in the obviously pre-bottling fermentation? Because it does have quite a lot of richness, almost a slight hint of vanilla, but at the same time really bright, bold, zingy, sharp and quite mineral. Yeah, really interesting blend of being dry but simultaneously dry as in very little evidence of sugar, but also zingy, which can sometimes be a synonym, can't it? Acidic things are sometimes called dry, which I always find misleading. The absence of sugar does not necessarily mean the presence of acid. And mineral, but also rich. Quite a nice blend. Very nice mouthfeel to that. Lovely fine bubbles. Very dry, but managing to be quite mouth-watering as well, thanks to that acidity. I think that's quite a smart glass of English sparkling there, doing a few different things in quite an interesting way. As always, Blanc de Blanc's usually not my favourite style. I think I really like having a bit of Pinot in with the blend to give it a bit more variety in the fruit character. But as Blanc de Blanc's go, I think that's really nice. It's not just trading on any one of those characteristics. It's not simply just really acidic. It's not just doing sort of really strong fruit expression in the apple and I think a bit of lemon, but it's also got that richness, the minerality, a little bit of botanical complexity, really nice texture to it. Did I say richness in that last string of words? Might be repeating myself, richness. Good stuff. I like that. That is definitely taking my mind off dealing with irksome comments from a video on the other channel. Wonderful bit of stress relief, sabraging a bottle of ESW. And if I can bear the heat, I will sit outside in the garden for a while longer and enjoy another glass or two. Cheers.